Welcome to head coach Scott Satterfield's press conference. Coach will start us off with a quick opening statement, then he'll take questions. Following him will be Tyson Veit and our new defensive assistant coaches. Coach?
Yep. Awesome, man. February 27th, man, we're talking some ball. That's good. That's good stuff. Our guys have been really getting after it in the weight room. I think it's funny. I was talking to Coach Nico yesterday about how we compare to other schools right now into this stage, and how hard we're working. And I think we get a pretty good gauge on that because we brought 15 transfers in this year, 27 last year, and so you get a good gauge when they get here compared to wherever they just came from. And pretty consistently, the guys that come in say this is the hardest they've ever had to work in the winter. I think that's intentional on our part. And then what you want to see out of that is how do they react, and it's been great. Our guys have been getting after it. They don't even blink. They're just like, whatever you got for me, let's do it. So I would say winter's going great for our guys right now. That's awesome. We're actually doing some things on the field with them a little bit, as much as you can rule-wise right now, which has been awesome. And it's exciting because we're leading up to spring practice for us that is starting here in a couple weeks, and we're excited about getting that started. What we mentioned this earlier, but 15 transfers and 12 high school guys, so we get to see what they can do in spring practice, and that'll all be good. Certainly to add to the team that we got coming back. We feel like the guys we do have coming back are some outstanding players, and they're continuing to progress and get better as well. And now it's up to these new guys. Let's see what they can do and how much depth can they provide for us, and/or can they start? And I think that's what we'll be able to see. We also got some things happening with the NFL Combine right now. We got 3 players that are there, and I feel great about all 3 of those guys with an opportunity to get drafted. Obviously they have to test well. We know this week's big for them. A lot of interviews set up, and then obviously on the field stuff that they're going to be doing. But man, those guys, they've been training. Actually seen John and Luke several times. They've been working with our guys in the weight room and stuff, continue to do some O-line drills. So it's been fun to see them and continue to progress. And then, we did announce, I think earlier today, about April 12th, we'll do a spring showcase. There's a lot of things in the media talking about these spring games. I do think, some of these coaches are a little worried about what they put out in the spring game because, if you think about a team that has 30 new players in spring and now you put that out on a spring contest and kind of see what they can do, a couple of things. Number one, other teams are scouting that. Number two, some players may try to get taken from them. It's kind of what they're seeing. So if we put these guys out, they look too good. Well, then teams are going to notice, and we know what happens with that. So that is interesting to me to see what's happening out there with these cancellation of spring games. But we will have a spring. We're calling it a showcase. We'll practice. We'll scrimmage some in there, but it'll also be some special teams, some 7-on-7. So it'll be look more like a practice, but I also think obviously we'll do some 11-on-11 work, and so it'll be a good chance for fans to be able to come out and see some of the new guys, and then also we're going to do some autographs and that type of thing, some fan engagement. I still think this is a good time of the year for our fans to get to know some of our new players because, again, we do have a lot of turnover in college football now and basketball for that matter each and every year. So it's a good opportunity to get to learn the new guys, which I think is certainly a positive. And I think today that's kind of what we're doing with our new coaches, to get a chance to meet our new defensive coaches and kind of get a feel for them as well. But, open up with any questions.
The trend on spring games kind of goes against fans right now are NIL and tickets and donations. They're doing more than ever and seeing access get less than ever. Do you feel some kind of responsibility to keep something like this, even if it's not a full-blown spring game, but to keep something like this for the fans to have that experience, get to know the team, get to come out in the spring and see a practice?
Absolutely. I mean, I do, you want the fans to be able to know these guys, as I mentioned earlier, for a chance for them to come out and, to watch them move around and see what they can do, can't do, those type things, but also get to interact. That's why we're doing some autograph stuff, so they get a chance to say hello to them. At least there's an opportunity there. And I think we want to provide that opportunity for our fans to be able to come out and get to know them. Because if you think about teams in the past where, you sign a high school player, he's here for 4 to 5 years. You get to really know these guys over a period of time. And the way it is now, it's difficult. There's so much turnover. There's so many new players that come in. How do you even have a chance and opportunity to get to know them? And I think, so you're right. I mean, we're limiting a lot of that, I think, in the way things are looking right now. But we still want to have that opportunity for it this spring. And I think, April 12th will be a good day. We also have a baseball. We have a game. We have the night at the Reds that night. So hopefully the weather cooperates that day. We got a lot of stuff going on that day. So hopefully it's a beautiful day on April 12th.
The truth of the matter is that the carnival starts again like April 16th.
True.
But it seems like it's a necessity because most teams are going to lose some and most teams are going to gain some.
Yeah, I do think, as we've seen the last couple of years, it's a less amount of players that have any turnover, but also, it will be some turnover. I mean, there's going to be, right? I mean, and I think what ends up happening is teams go through the spring practice and maybe you'll look at it and say, all right, where's our weakest spot at? Maybe we need to try to go get some help. And I think that's what teams will do. I don't think there's many guys that'll get in the portal in the spring. Just the numbers, most of them got in the spring in the wintertime. So, but there will be some more turnover, but hopefully not as much. And I think, this is something that we're looking at in college football. Are we going to have one portal window as we move forward? Or we're going to sit here with two? And that's kind of a debate right now through college football, along with many other things as far as the calendar goes. We're looking at this House case. I mean, there's a lot of things that are happening right now. And really and truly, I think as coaches, we're just trying to keep up with the current rules and kind of see what's happening right now because there's a lot of change.
Year one, you come in, you don't know anybody. Year two, half the roster is new, and most of them for the spring. Can you tell much of a difference only having, it sounds crazy, but only having 27 new guys? Like, can you tell that much of a difference?
You really can. I think, culturally, I think last year we really took a step in a great direction. Getting the right guys on the team, and they were so fun to be around, and they competed their butts off. And I think that has continued this winter. And with our core guys coming back, and particularly on defense, I mean, we've got a lot of those guys that are back. A lot of guys had a lot of production coming back, and then what you added to come in here, these guys, we got the right guys to come in. Because you don't really know until they get here. But man, they have great attitudes. They're fun to train. They're fun to be around, and they've really just picked up right with our team, our core team, with the culture. And I think, I think we're certainly, we're light years ahead of where we were when we first got here, and even last year as well. But I do think it's the new norm to have 30 new players in the wintertime, I think. But yeah, they fit right in as a lot of them as if they've been here for a year or 2 years. Even though they've only been here for a couple of months. But I think that's a credit to our coaches and our scouting staff to be able to go out and get the right ones.
You mentioned the combine earlier. What kind of advice would you give to the 3 guys that you have there? What have you said to players in the past about kind of approaching this?
Yeah, I mean, I think these guys, man, they have the right stuff about them. And I think for them to go out, and they'll do well in the interview portion of it. When they get around the coaches, they'll do well on the board if they put a pen in their hand, because obviously that's what you find out. So we try to teach our guys in our program that you're going to have to get on a board. They put a pen in your hand, you're going to find out what you actually know. So, and I don't care what position it is. And so we feel good about that with our guys, and really just be who they are. The thing about it, they don't have to change anything because these guys are solid people. They're good football players. They got great character. So all those things will show if they just go be themselves. I think the other thing is when you get to that point right there, because they feel like, oh man, all riding on this. Well, this is just another step in that direction. So don't tighten up. I think just get in there and be excited about being there, but then just cut loose and go perform. And I think that's probably the best advice they can get.
Yeah.
I know you've done a little bit of on-field work, but the 15 practices in spring, particularly with the transfers, not necessarily the freshmen, how much do you use of those 15 practices, particularly spots like the secondary and maybe the receivers, as different slots and different spots? Yeah. And like how many of those practices will you use to evaluate that, or you just go the whole spring ball, come back at higher ground, and then figure out where you're going to play them?
That's a good point. I mean, particularly those two positions, right? I mean, we brought in several DBs and several wide receivers. So during spring, and even right now, we're looking at them in a few different positions and trying to figure out maybe what's the best one. And we'll put them in those positions, and then as we go through practice in the spring, let's say, the first 5 or 6 practices, if they're looking good, kind of leave them. If we say, man, they may be better at this spot, then we'll make the move. So probably give them half and half if we need to, or stay where they are. Because we want to put the best 11 on the field. So find out where they fit. And I think, Cyrus is a good example, because Cyrus he can play any of the receiver positions, but where does he fit the best? Is it the slot? Is it the Z? Is it the X? And figure out, what's the best lineup to put in the field, put on the field at the one time. So that'll be the time to do that. We're doing a little bit of that now, but it's so early right now because we're just trying to teach them the basics of just lining up properly, learning the formations, learning the signals, learning all the things, and then go out and perform in the spring. But yeah, hopefully we'll have a great idea as we get in the middle of the spring to figure out where these guys will best help us.
We're not having the traditional spring game. Will it change how you guys evaluate the guys during practice, or more premium on those practices since you don't have that spring game to kind of show out?
Yeah, I think back. I don't even know if we've only, in my time coaching, we've only had a few traditional spring games. I know it's a big talk about it, but usually, and I think from a coach's perspective, I want to get a practice. We only get 15 opportunities. Let's get a good practice. So now, a lot of it's devoted to scrimmage time. And, in the past, we've run 80 snaps in a scrimmage. So we are evaluating that. But yes, to your point, we are evaluating every single day, how they perform. Can they line up correctly? How many mental mistakes are they making? Because those are the things and how disciplined are they? Because those are the things that ultimately cost us the games. And I think, you guys know, if you think back last year and the year before, when we come back in here on press conferences after the games, we weren't disciplined enough. We had too many mental mistakes. Those are the things that cost us games. I feel like you lose more than you win in that regard so don't beat ourselves, in other words. And so those are the things we're going to be evaluating every single practice, and not just a spring game or a spring scrimmage. It is every single day who's giving us the best opportunity and chance to win games, and that's what we'll be evaluating.
Back to the NFL draft, if you were to send a letter of recommendation, Coach, to an NFL team about Corey Kiner, what might you say about him?
Yeah, man, consistent. He's going to be extremely consistent. I think as a coach, that's what you want. You want consistency from your players. You don't want a player that's going to be low one day, high one day, and all. He is consistently good every single day. You know what you're going to get out of him. He's going to be a guy who's going to break a lot of tackles. He's going to always strain for the extra yards. He's going to be great on third down in your protections. He's going to fit a linebacker up, put his nose right in the middle of his chest and block him. And you just know you can count him to get those first downs. And he's also a smart player, so you don't have to sit in there and have to meet with him over and over and over. He's going to pick it up in the first 1 or 2 times you tell him what's going to happen there. So, and he's an outstanding character player. And so if there's a couple of running backs that are similar on the field as far as skill set, then he's going to set himself apart because he's going to give you all the other stuff that you're looking for as a football coach.
Austin, then Keegan.
Coach, can you take us through sort of the level of expectations in regards to the 27 new players that are coming in versus, the transfers that are coming in versus the high school kids that you're signing?
Yeah, there is a difference in the transfers and the high school players. These high school players come from all different parts of the country, different kind of high school, different kind of program. For them to come in here, just to figure out what time they have to go to breakfast and what time do I have to lift weights and then what time's my meeting. Like that may be big for some of those guys. I think the transfer guys, they've already been in a program. They've already gone through all that. So for the transfer guys, we have, I guess, higher expectations initially when they get here to really pick it up quickly, to understand exactly what's happening right now. And they have done that. They've come right in. They know what the rigors are like in college. They know about the lifting and the running and nutrition, all those type things. It's just about them picking up on the terminology and then how we want them to play. And I think, how quickly can they do that, we determine whether or not how much they play. I think for the high school guys, man, again, we're just taking it slow with those guys. The way I see it, if these high school guys came in early, this is just gravy for us, for them. Because a lot of the guys normally come in the summer. This is an extra opportunity to come in and to get work, change their bodies. I think we've already had several freshmen that have put on 10 pounds, 15, we've even 20 pounds since they gotten here, which is incredible to me. And so I think it's different to look at the transfer compared to the high school guy. You know, we're looking at these transfer guys that come in and play. I mean, right now, you know, obviously the high school guys, we're a little bit more patient, and if they can help us this fall, certainly we'll play them. If they need a little bit more time to develop, then that's what we'll do as well with those guys.
Who have you seen kind of emerge as possible leaders in the weight room or with the on-field drills so far in terms of transfers?
In terms of transfers, you know, Ty Wee's one that's really kind of stood out. We just talked about Corey. There's a lot of similarities, you know, with Ty Wee and Corey. You know, obviously they're both built similar. They have great size, great strength. You know, Ty Wee's just as strong, if not stronger, than him. We've had some competitions in the weight room and on the field, and just in the last week, and he's really stepped up and won those competitions. And that's what you want to see. Now, you know, it's not 3rd and 2. We're not handing the ball to him to see if he can break a tackle. But, you know, this is just a little glimpse into what he's built like. And to see, you think that's going to translate onto the football field. You know, we've seen it on the field, you know, the film. He's had some really good film out there. But he's kind of been one that's kind of stood out in that regard. You know, I think, you know, a guy like McDoom has really done some good things at corner out there, but also just competing and running and lifting and all those type things. You know, we got our first look at Rusnick, the kicker, the other day, kind of in front of everybody, and he looked really good, knocking some field goals down. So, I mean, you know, I think each and every day, because we're just still learning about those guys, you know, and that's what I'm looking forward to when you put the ball down. I was telling Coach Nico this the other day, a lot of these guys have done a great job in the weight room and the winter program stuff, but they still got to play football, right? So when we put the ball down, I want to be able to see what they can do. Can they make the plays? Can they do it? You know, the wide receivers, Caldwell's looked great in some of the drills. Cyrus has looked really, really good. You know, so yeah, I mean, I think Xavier, his safeties look really good. So, I mean, there's several of them, but I'm anxious to see them when we put the ball down.
How does the conditioning in the spring ball next year look like when you have the building open? Do you still sneak the guys out in the snow to toughen them up, or you know, you've got a nice facility?
Good question there. That would be something we'll have to debate. But you know, I don't necessarily worry about weather in the winter and spring as so much as in the summer and the fall, because you know we don't ever play games when it's wind chill's -5 degrees. You know, we really haven't. You know, and like it was 2 weeks ago, it was brutal out there, and the guys were out there doing it. So, no, I know. I like it when it was like the other day it was 60 when we were out there. That's phenomenal. So, but I do think in the wintertime, the new facility is going to be incredible for us to be able to use next winter, because I think you really just want time with the guys to be able to get their workouts in. Now, I'm sure we're going to continue to play with them mentally, because that's what winters are all about. So there'll be days probably next winter when it's very cold and they're anticipating we're going into the indoor and we're going outside. So we're going to have to mess with their minds a little bit. So we'll continue to do that for sure.
Final question for Coach.
You were asked about high school players earlier. Yeah. Zion Johnson had some really, really impressive tape coming out of high school. Does he kind of have that skill set to just be a get the ball in his hands kind of guy as a true freshman, you think?
You know, it's going to be interesting. It's hard to evaluate running backs in the winter without putting the ball down, you know, because he looks good. I mean, he's running around. He can catch the ball. He's got good wiggle. You know, he's decent size for a high school player just getting here. You know, it's but until you put the ball down, hand him the ball, and all right, these guys are trying to tackle you. Let's see what you really can do. We don't really know that, you know, but I like what we've seen from him so far. You know, I think Gio's another guy at wide receiver. He's really kind of turned some heads a little bit in this winter program. Like, he's come in and he runs good routes. He catches the ball well. He's looked really good, and I think those, Zion, you mentioned. I'm glad you mentioned those two, because they really have looked good and kind of turned some heads of the coaches in the first month and a half.
Thank you, Coach.
All right, thank you, guys.